Recording.
Welcome back, folks. And our last episode, we had them climbing out of a worm hole, so to speak, and rescuing an autognome. And as they started climbing out of this hole, they are met by Zish, who just happened to be walking through the front entrance, claiming how the devices that were cleaning him were very rude. We bring it into the autognome himself. He introduces himself. He goes by a common nickname and he calls himself Ulysses. Mind you, there's a lot of different names that he incorporates all over the shop, but he introduces himself to you as Ulysses. And he looks very grateful to you, and he immediately starts. Well, I'll just get into the point. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, hi. He seems to repeat quite extensively some of his verbals. We have emergency, emergency. Repay. I repay you. Hold on. And he wanders over, and he's rifling through all of his gear and sprockets, and they're going everywhere. And he grabs this bag, and he comes over to you two, and he goes, Here, here," and he hands you a bag. It was about that time that off the shelf right here falls onto a floor a book. It, it's a book,
I like books.
clocks, and it's calling your attention. You're handed both this bag as this book. Mind you, there's lots of stuff all over. There's blueprints and stuff. No book. There's a book.
I like books.
Like I said, if it just seemed like it was there and it fell over. This little bag fell onto a floor. He's handing you a large bag, and this little bag falls over onto this floor. And you could have swore the bag wasn't there just moments ago.
Hey, what's this?
And I don't, I don't. That's not mine. Not mine. Mine.
Okay, I check out the book bag.
You pick up the bag and the book that fell out that seemed to randomly appear out of nowhere, and it's interestingly made out of what looks like note paper and some and a cover, and the binder is made out of balsa wood. It's weird, and it's hastily written. And on the front, find on the front of the cover it says the COG assessment log.
Log assessment log.
That's what the cover reads. The COG assessment log. It looks like someone probably used magical fire to carve and stain the title into it.
Okay, I open it and check it out.
You open it, and it's in the front, it says forward. Here within are the pages, are the journals written by my hands. Detective Nixie Brass, aka Nixandra Brasswing, imprisoned Copper Fairy of Clockwork City.
Ooh.
That's what it says on the first page.
I must read this cover to cover. Where's
As you start
Clockwork
reading,
City?
the auto Ulysses goes north, northwest, north, northwest,
That's
far northwest.
I'm
okay.
gonna go over and be like, here, let me try to fix that stutter. I'm gonna bonk him on the head.
He twitches a bit. No, no, it works. No, works. Thank you, thank you. I try all the time. 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 Time.
I think you made it worse.
Bonk him
The
again.
rest of it seems to be written in some weird language that you are not able to discern.
Hmm.
That's not at all concerning.
It's very mechanical.
Can I keep it?
The way it's written. Sure, sure. Do you get what? Do you need help? As he looks around, it's written. I have hold, and he goes and he rifles through all this stuff in the background. Here, and he hands back to you an eyeglass.
Oh,
Use. It's written in Clockworkian.
Clockworkian.
It's native language for my kind. I hold set. He wanders over and he starts, well, putting some oil on his face and everything, and then he squeaks up some of his areas, and he turns. There we go. Much better. I you get rusty in all that slime area. Thank you for the noggin, sir.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix your kind. I saw some guy do that once before to another one and it fixed him. So
The book you have, it seems written in what we call as Clockworkian. It's a very system. It's very there's no words. It's very analog. So this will help you understand what's written in there. You see this device. It's just a kind of an eyepiece spectacle, and you can hold it up like it's a monocle almost, but it lets you, when you look through it, understand what's being written on the pages within.
Being written, like, actively?
I'm sorry, what?
You said being written, like it's actively being written in front of us?
No, it's just
Okay, it lets you translate.
correct. It translates it. Um, as it says, the very first page you turn into, and it goes into great lengths, The very first page says, Cogs of note. Of this great city, I am in prison writing this journal as I strive to survive the clockwork challenge for those who failed in a perfect system. By failing to be perfect, one must take the challenge in order to be allowed to be left as a flawed perfection that is perfectly flawed in the great clockwork society. These rules have prevailed since the first Cogborn wrote his laws. As the first perfectly flawed, he was. For those considered to be construct, clockwork, or plasmoid of this city, naturally born, you are written to be allowed to never take the challenge until the day your failure to be perfect has emerged. Then you undergo the challenge, and once you've accomplished the survival of the massive maze of challenges, you receive the stamp of flawed perfection. Freedom is attained, and you are allowed to travel the world outside the city, and only those who have completed this is known by others by the stamp that only each other can see. Some of us, like my fellow copper fairies, get tossed into the dungeon just by sheer fault of being born. Some end up here by accident, like the case of the Tarmoid, due to greats and falling through a catch system. Some commit crimes, much like the Warforge, while others were criminal by design, like the Autonome that knows no better when he borrows things. There are some that strive for perfection as organics, much like the Haragon that was a timekeeper. And there is another that was an Autonome that just seemed to be teleported here by mistake. My journal with these imperfects during the
Sounds like
Clockwork
their
Challenge.
system is rather imperfect, since it mentions two people who are there by accident.
My journal with these imperfects during the Clockwork Challenge have left me more understanding and more willful to survive. And I leave this book for others to know of the footnote of my little footnote of history. Below are the names that I have traveled with. Helical, the Autonome Shield Tinkerer, Neo Pancras, the Tarmoid Healer, Hoppy the Haragon, the Time Fist Disciple, Victor the Warforged, the Bandit Brawler, and Bonnybot, the Autonome Chemist Bombardier. That's the first page.
Well, I have to say this Nixie Brass is very eloquent writer.
It goes on to a lot of lengths and it talks about their days and everything.
But we
And then
recognize Bonnie Bot, the name.
yes, you do. You recognize Bonnie Bot because she teleported away from you all in that brief little moment that you met her at the train crash. 13 days ago, 14 days ago.
Well,
So,
now we know where she went.
correct.
Assuming, of course, that this is in a old account. This may be where she came from.
Well, it said that she was teleported accidentally.
Which doesn't specify that this wasn't. Is there a date on the book?
Yes, is there a date?
Sort of. It tells you the day that she got captured, and the date coincides with she was put in the paddy wagon, or I should say she was imprisoned at the same day that you guys landed on Brakara-7. Actually, it's probably about almost a little bit before that, but still. So during the passages, she loses track of what day it actually is, other than the day that she got thrown into jail. And the date that she recites is the day that you guys landed on this place.
Yeah, I would say that's about right. It is. How did that get here?
That's a good
Well, there is
question.
more. There is a lot more to the book to read.
Okay, uh, I take the
The
hint and
book.
decide to let clocks keep reading.
Ulysses steps over. He's like, You're using the eyepiece wrong. Watch this." And he puts it on the thing, and the thing spreads out over the whole page. And it makes clockwork indiscernible to any native language that you speak. And you can take it off, like one of those reader things. So as you slide it down, it translates. So you can either hold it and look through it, or you could place it on it, and it's expands to the size, magically expands to the size of the page, so you can read it. And it even has a vocal function. He pushes it, and it starts auto reading it to you out loud.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm not really a fan of these auto read voices.
It said on the day that this thing happened, and and it mispronounces Zeiss, Silid, Stial, and the mispronouncing regular words. Not um. He brushes some things off, and he sets up a table, and he's like, "I've got to go check the instruments. You all continue." And Ulysses runs off, and he starts checking all the instruments that he's just fiddling with uh, in the background. He's got seismic readings and stuff going all over that you didn't really notice the machines there to begin with until he moved a bunch of junk out of the way. And he's like, okay, there's a lot of that going on in the background. As you sit down at this makeshift metal table, and all three of you listen or read the book. About It goes through page after page of regaling days of journey and fighting these weird clockworks that melt after death and everything. And then after 20 or 30 so pages of it, there's one final entry, and it stands out. And it says, "This is my final assessment of everything that has taken place." And it's labeled Clockwork Challenge. And beyond it, uh, I'll show you some of the other things afterwards. It reads, "From my assessment, the walls of the solid steel in the room barren, with but a door and 5 others. A strange gas that works on constructs knocked us out when tossed into a paddy wagon in the city. This is what each remember. There was an unlocked door at the far end of the room, which after we explored the room, it was empty that we started in. We decided to explore beyond the steel door. Many non-intelligent clockworks and constructs ended up being beyond those doors. Rooms moved, traps designed into fights, puzzles so simple that aggravate you when you realize their simplicity. And every room nonstop with clockwork fights that seem to scale with us along our journey. And each day, more gas would knock us out, and we'd find ourselves back in this room that we started in. Yet the room would sometimes change. Doors would be on the opposite side of the end, leaving us to speculate what was truly going on, only to realize that the room kept changing and moving unbeknownst to us until much later, when an earthquake began to happen. These fights, puzzles left us exhausted each day, and much of the rooms unexplored, since we only had roughly 8 hours each day before something would knock us out again. The clockwork seemed to repair the damages, move the walls, and none of it made sense until much later. I write this footnote as a summary upon the day of the earthquake, which might be the reason we understand the truth of what was happening and what the dungeon was doing to us. Only which came only to the understanding of its mechanics because they broke during our challenge. Mostly gives us the knowledge known by its true inner workings of this place. Built deep under the Clockwork City itself is a dungeon designed to move the prisoners around and monitor them and give them a scaled environment until they complete the task of finding 4 pieces to unlock their way out. Centered on the prison cell, only you and those in your cell are in a unique death trap designed to erase you. When the earthquake happened, we learned that the gas they were using nightly affected both living and construct alike, which places you in a coma state until another gas that they used for revival in order to awake us. Being that akin to turning to stone almost. Also, the clockworks, when they died here, turned into what would be compared to mercury liquid and leave behind these random cogs that can be used much like a consumable. We've seen for these sale in the city, and only now do I realize where they came from and how many of have lived through these challenges. And when I asked those store clerks prior to in my life in the city, those vendors would just shrug and say it's a trade secret. Now I know better. The clockworks, upon death and melting, leave one or a couple of these cogs, and it is my thought that something called the cog master make these, dip them in cogs of mercury vat, and create all the contraptions that are nothing more is known about him. Who knows? Maybe it was the first flawed perfect, and he lives down here, since nothing is known of what happened to him. He disappeared one day after the Clockwork Challenge was built, and the city has been running for the last few centuries ever since. Mind not these rambles, I write these passages in haste, in between understandings and battles. When the earthquake happened, what I think was about the 8th day of being down here, the system broke, and while the gas had stopped, we kept hearing voices on the loudspeaking device throughout every room. Something had crashed, a meteor of something rather large. And things started infesting the clockwork dungeon where we are in. I don't know what happened. So I'm finishing these writings, and I've planned to use what little magic I have to portal this book via an item scatter spell that I've acquired in here. Apparently, clockwork horrors, have crashed into the Clockwork City. This is an epic disaster, as one of my fellow prisoners has pointed out. And we are meeting this army head on, and it is unknown if we could even stop this invasion, considering they'll tear apart the city and build more of their kind like a zombie army of a lich. Our dead will only fuel them. I wish those that find this have the heart to help before the problem becomes a grave of everything on Brakara-7. I've added notes of things that I've discovered on and tossed them in this journal and all the cogs we have, and I've casted this spell. Whomever finds this, since we doubt our own survival of this infestation, I've attached it to the bag to prevent unworthy from finding this bag. Nixie Brass. It seems hastily written, and it's broken Because, yeah, person was evidently unsure of their demise. So here you sit with a book and a bag that you swore wasn't there just a few moments ago.
I would say yes, we do know exactly what happened to our friend.
Well, what do we do? We need to save her. And all of them.
Okay, I agree with the we need to save our friend. Why the rest of them?
As to note, none of you know what a clockwork horror is. Well, okay, I have to read.
Oh, that's gonna be my first thing. Is like, what is that?
Zish, I do have to think about some of the background of your character. I'll let you roll at disadvantage an Arcana check, and you need to beat at least a 13 to know anything about it.
You're gonna have to do the roll for me. I can't roll.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I will do that for you. Do, 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 do. Arcana. Let's roll. Something has changed the outlook on these things. There we go.
When did that become a thing? Nope.
You rolled an 8. You've heard very little other than the fact that they are some mechanical construct that occasionally spelljammers will run into. Aside from that, you have no idea what's going on. No one else really would have much other than the NPC that's currently maybe running around in the shop at this very moment. And the book is did you set it to read out loud? Or did you all just
but I
read
wasn't
it?
the one who first
Yeah.
picked it up, so
Yes.
Okay. Ulysses overhears Clockwork Horror, and he stops what he's doing and he turns around. And if his eyes could widen, they're kind of mechanical. They would, but he just looks over and goes, that is, why are they there? Why are horrors here?
All right, what do you know? What are they?
Clockwork horrors are a known blight amongst the planar stars.
Oh.
They swarm like insects, devouring metal and building more of their kind. On their journey to eradicate the Neogi. But there's no Neogi here. Why are they here?
there was no. As far as we know, there's no Neogi here.
We saw Neogi.
When? Where?
That's what
And is
caused
he
us.
dead?
That's what caused us to crash, wasn't it?
I was not.
Paying attention? Yeah.
I
When-
was caught up in my own thing.
When the train crashed, the ship that crashed into it
was a Neogi
was full of
death
Neogis.
spice. Yes. The very beginning day of their journey, to regale you, what had happened is they went through the way station portal and came into and they were ported into a train that was moving, magical train moving along its magical blah. Within hours, a Spelljammer crashed from outside crashed through the atmosphere right into their train. It was the equivalent to a Death Star, if you were to think of, or I should say, it was a rather large Spelljammer, and it was a death. The name of it's called. It's a Death Spinner, and it's a Neogi's hive ship, and it carries the most elite of the Neogi in it. And
Oh,
it
we have
crashed.
something we need to go burn down.
And on their day that they had that crashed into it, swarms upon swarms upon swarms of Neogi, somewhere about tens of thousands, swarmed out of that ship. And there was only a handful of the folks there that were in the train. Few of them, seeing all of this, tried to put up somewhat of a fight before Umberhawk started breaking out of their canisters. Large beasts of burden that the Neogi had tamed started crashing out, coming out of this, coming out of the crashed ship. And what looked like an advantage to them was a herd of bulliettes that zoned in on the wreckage, thinking that it was a free meal.
I remember that
coming in, and instead of being helpful to the situation, which they were at first, they ended up being charmed and controlled by the Neogi, and it became land sharks plus Neogi riders riding the dirt sea towards the adventure as they started to flee. With the unprecedented knowledge, they used a scatter teleport spell to get the F out of A and hope to survive and maybe regroup. This happened 14 days ago.
So Neogis have been on this planet for at least 14 days.
Correct. A massive swarm of them. The massive swarm of them. And now you know of a meteor that's carrying the Clockwork Horror, is what it sounds like, with the Clockwork Horror Army crashed into a bunch of free sentient clockworks at Clockwork City, chasing after them to the north. And there you are, stuck in the middle between two wars. Or I should say, here you are.
Gracious.
Yamar drops his weapons and just walks to the stage left.
I can't handle this.
It's bad enough. Uh, so yes, Ulysses explains a little bit as you backfill in Zish, and now your characters are
Up to date.
lamenting.
Oh, yeah.
But
I'm gonna open.
there's some. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was gonna open the bag that he gave us.
Ah, good news. So you have two bags. One's a large bag and one's a small bag. Inside those small bags, let me show the players to all. You
Oh,
now have the journal, Clockwork Challenge. Now, if you read under this, I'm going to introduce some things to you called the toxic issue. From the best of the understanding, below are the health concerns that you have learned from from the challenges and travels with dealing with cogs. Cogs can be molded together for up to 9 stacks of the same type, and in short, you could combo them to spell recharge, um, up to an eighth charge. You know most of these dynamics because you played the side quest and you recognize these characters. Toxicity effect is going to be new for you though. So, toxicity effect every week without natural break in usage of the cogs will build fatigue in the body. Treat it like exhaustion effects for every 5 uses. To include a cog of 5 together would count as 5 uses all at once. So, if you use a level 9 cog, which that would stack out to, you would have 1 exhaustion level and 5 points, and needing 1 more to get to exhaustion level 2. These exhaust levels are classified as toxicity levels and require toxic removal from your system. Re- Remove poison, disease, etc. will have no effect on the removal. Natural healing over a week removes 1 level of toxicity, and a wish spell can only be used to remove 1 level at a time. That's how bad it is. 6 levels of toxicity is lethal and sets the player's health to 0 and incapacitates them, and they will remain in a dead like state for at least a month until they lose 1 level of toxicity. If a 7th level ever happens, because let's say you were at 5.4 and you used a 9, technically, there's a blah. If a 7th level happens, the body begins melting immediately and creates a toxic zone aura of 20 feet, giving everything nearby 1 level of toxicity automatically and continues for a full year. Think of it like magical nuclear waste. Constructs, however, can half this effect, so for every 10 uses, they reach toxicity levels. That is the benefit of having construct in your tagline. With that, you already know what all these cog types are. You've gotten to play with them before. There are some new ones, which are gemmed cog combos, mixing a purple, a red, and a blue together, or a black, a white, a gray, orange, yellow, red, green, yellow, blue, or brown, purple, orange, green. We'll get. They have some different comboing effects, and we will do some rolling to see how much you get. So we already know that you received 1 small and 1 large. So who wants to do the roll for the small and who wants to do the roll for the large to see how many cogs are in it? Well, how's this? Since Zish is unable to roll, Clocks, do you want to do the small one since you're a small person?
yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Roll me a 1d4 plus 2.
1d4.
And meanwhile, Kamar, roll me a